This question might have come into your mind as to why is that some countries have become so rich after independence, such as Singapore and South Korea and Malaysia, while other countries like Nigeria, Kenya, Bangladesh still remain poor. To understand that, just look at this map that you see on screen. This map you can easily get by going to Google Images and searching for ease of doing business. What will come onto your screen is a world map in which some countries will be shown in green, some in dark green, some in orange, some in yellow, and some in red. The countries which are in the green are the easiest to do the business. The countries in the dark green especially take this ease to a new level. New Zealand, Australia, the Scandinavian countries, South Korea, the United States, these are all extremely easy countries to do business. The countries which are green are a notch lesser. The countries which are in yellow, still lesser, orange, still lesser, and red, the worst. The ranking actually goes like this. New Zealand is the easiest country to do business. Singapore, the second easiest. Hong Kong, third easiest. Denmark, fourth easiest. South Korea, fifth. United States, sixth. Georgia, seventh. I must say that Georgia is new to the club. It is an East European country which tried heavy bureaucracy, didn't work, and is trying something new. And by new I mean lesser regulations this time, lesser bureaucracy, more entrepreneur friendly qualities. Then goes the United Kingdom, Norway, Sweden, Lithuania, Malaysia, even Mauritius, which is in the continent of Africa, surrounded on many sides by extremely failed states, extremely poor countries like Madagascar. Mauritius, because of its ease of doing business, has got very good development. Further, we have countries like Australia, Taiwan, the United Arab Emirates, then we have Macedonia, Estonia. Estonia and Ukraine, both of them became free from the Soviet Union at about the same time. Estonia went towards industrial friendly reforms. Ukraine went towards industrial repellent reforms, excessive regulations, heavy amount of permissions to start business, and the result is in front of you. Two countries, but different trajectories, independent at about the same time. Then we have Latvia, Finland, Thailand, Germany, Canada, Ireland, Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan, you might have seen Borat, and your perception of Kazakhstan would be very warped due to that. Kazakhstan is a relatively free place to live, relatively good infrastructure, and so on. It's very easy to do business as compared to its neighboring failed states like Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and further down in Afghanistan and Pakistan. You'd be better off in Kazakhstan as compared to any of these failed states. Thailand is odd here, but it may be again, like Georgia, new to the club. So, why does this happen? In order to understand this, you just need to understand one quote by Ronald Reagan, which he said during an election debate. He said that the reason why the American people are not well to do, before Ronald Reagan came into office, there was a huge recession and so on. And he said that the reason why the people of America are right now not well to do is because the government is well to do. Another way to look at it is that the reason why the people are not well to do is because the bureaucracy is well to do. Whichever country is a bureaucrat's paradise will end up being a nightmare situation for the people. And whichever country in which the people are well to do, that means the bureaucrats and the bureaucrats' powers are kept at bay. In order to understand this, I would recommend that you just listen to this analogy that is in front of you. What you're seeing in front of you, this animation, is that of an hourglass. You have come across it a number of times. Sand from one section moves through a narrow bottleneck and falls into the other section. This movement of sand, even though it goes through a bottleneck, is freely flowing. There is no obstruction, just a bottleneck which narrows the sand down and it falls onto the other side. Now just imagine that there is some kind of a filter that will be placed between these two. Specifically, imagine that every bit of information that is coming through YouTube and other news media is represented by the sand in the upper compartment of the hourglass, and a bunch of bureaucrats are kept in between to decide which news is true and which news is not true. Why are they placed? Because let's say fake news happened, and because of fake news, riots happened. Because of fake news, we were at the brink of a war. So the government decided to put bureaucrats in charge. So these bureaucrats are now in control. They get to decide. They get to inquire and decide for you which information is good for you, is not dangerous, is not harmful, which won't cause riots, which won't cause two nations to be at the brink of a nuclear war, and so on. So they decide for you which information is safe for you to consume and which information is not so safe for you to consume. Would you agree to this? Only those bits of information which they decide will be received by you. They will have the filter power over which bits should pass and which bits should not. The reason why you won't accept to this, because intuitively you know that these people cannot be trusted. No matter how honest you think right now they are, governments keep changing, and these people, the bureaucrats hired by them, will also keep changing. And if they have the power to decide what's true and false, they will be selective in their decisions. So you would rather live with the threat of a nuclear war, you would rather live with the threat of fake news tending to cause riots or so on, and you will not fall to the fear mongering, and you won't agree for such bureaucrats. So instead of news bits, now just imagine that there are people kept in bureaucracy who approve or disapprove business investment applications. So let's say you and other businessmen now represent the sand in the uppermost column, on the upper chamber of the hourglass. These bureaucrats get to decide which applications to approve or reject. What do you think? Will this be a transparent system? Will these people somehow allow businessmen to just flow freely and be unbiased in their approach? In reality, what happens is they end up becoming agents to certain businessmen who bribe them or who fund the campaigns of the politicians who have hired them. Remember, these people are hired by the politicians you elect, and every time you elect a new politician, they get to decide who will be the regulators in chief to approve or disapprove businesses. So this changes your country from a free market capitalism or a free market enterprise as it should be to a bureaucrat facilitated oligopoly where only certain corporations receive benefits, where only certain corporations receive approvals, others don't. As Nobel Prize winner Milton Friedman quoted that the regulators end up becoming agents to corporations. This is from an interview that he gave to Phil Donahue. You can find these interviews on YouTube easily. And now it's time to look at some examples of how this works. This is Jakarta, the capital of Indonesia. It is a radius within Indonesia where there are extremely less regulations, extremely less bureaucracy, extremely less permissions for entrepreneurs. Well, that's the good news, but the bad news is just outside Jakarta, you can just move few kilometers outside Jakarta, the whole story changes because now you have entered the domain of high regulations and now it looks like you're slipped into a third world country. It is one country, but within the country, there's an island called Jakarta, as if where there are low regulations, low bureaucracy. Outside, it's like a third world country. This is also the reason why why Indonesia as compared to Malaysia is not that developed. Malaysia, if you saw the list that was there of the countries ranked according to the ease of doing business, Malaysia was there. Indonesia wasn't. The capital city of Jakarta, though, is like an island which has got extremely low regulations. Unfortunately, outside Jakarta, the thing changes. The story of Argentina is another sad story of what federal or central regulations can do to a country. Argentina, you may not believe, was once upon a time one of the richest countries on planet Earth. It was neck to neck, its economy was neck to neck to that of the United States. It had an economy bigger than Germany and bigger than Canada. But after the year 1955, federal regulations were put. So now, if you wanted, a new president got elected. It is said that the Nazis who escaped from Germany influenced the politics of Argentina. The Nazis were socialists who believed in extreme federal regulations, centralized regulations. And it is believed that the new prime minister, president, whoever got elected, being sympathetic, imposed several federal regulations. That means if you were a businessman who wanted to do business in Argentina, you would have to take the permission of a federal office which was there maybe in the capital, without the permission of which you cannot do business. That means just like the bottleneck of the R class, every business application had to go through this office and only then you would get the permission to start a business. Argentina was the businessman's favorite place before the year 1955 because it was unaffected by war, it never participated in any wars. So people felt their investment was safe there. But after the year 1955, after these regulations came into place, they knew they couldn't do business there any longer. They wouldn't even get the permission because of the corruption that happened due to the federal regulations. The result was these rich people went away from Argentina. Some went to the United States, some went to Europe, some went to Canada, some went to Australia, New Zealand, so on. And there was no reason for them to remain in Argentina. The image that you're seeing in front of you is a picture of the capital of Argentina today. It is one of the few countries, or I would say the only country that I know of which had first world-like amenities once upon a time, and which went from first world country, as richer than Germany, richer than Canada, almost as rich as the United States before the year 1955, to a developing country today. What you see in front of you is a slum from its capital, Buenos Aires. What if I tell you that the whole of mathematics can be visualized in just one ebook? What if I tell you that I of complex numbers is nothing but rotation by 90 degrees? I square is rotation by 180 degree, I cube rotation by 270 degree, and I raised to 4 a full rotation by 360 degree. What if sine theta is visualized as a measure of how much perpendicular two forces or objects are, or influences are? Just carefully look at this animated picture. You'll see a man throwing a ball onto a wall at 90 degree. At 90 degree the impact is maximum. The same ball thrown to the wall at 30 degree, impact will be half. What if cos is explained as a measure of how much parallel two influences are? the more parallel the sphere is with respect. This entire thing is there in an ebook format in 3 books, namely Visualizing Math 1, Visualizing Math 2, and there's an additional book on quantum physics called as Quantum Leaps. The link to these books is given, and it's also there in the description below. Visualizing Maths 1 deals with complex numbers, trigonometry, Visualizing 2 with Fourier transforms and so on.